Well, if I had to summarize Citadel in one word, it would be time. In one sentence, I would say, I guess great things take time. It takes a lot of time, a long time, to produce Citadel, where first of all, the history of the product itself, it's rooted in the late 18th century, 1775, the first Citadel distillery in Dunkirk. And then how much time it took us, 5 years, to convince French administration to be able to use these tiny little pot stills that we have in Cognac to distill Citadel in the spring and in the summer. Also, the time to choose the botanicals. Citadel is 100% natural gin that's not made from concentrate, that's actually made with the botanicals themselves. We distill the botanicals, but we don't just throw the botanicals in the pot still. We infuse the botanicals. Cold infusion, we call it, which is room temperature infusions. So you have a slow extraction of the taste. It's a little bit like oil. Instead of doing the warm pressure, it's a cold pressure oil. So you don't extract as much, but it's a very gentle extraction of the taste of the botanicals. Instead of taking 0 minutes, just throwing it in pot still, it takes 1 week, 10 days. Every botanical is being integrated one by one, respecting the personality of each botanical. And also, that is the notion of time. Distillation. A lot of gins are now distilled with huge gin apparatus or column apparatus. Here, it's distilled in a tiny little copper still that was designed in the late 1500s. Not much has changed. It's still heated by fire. It creates this very velvety, very flavorful gin with a lot of essential oil that you get from the botanicals that gives you that very specific mouthfeel that Citadel has. But that takes time. That's the only thing. It's a one pot still only produces one cask at a time. Something really comes to mind when you think of the result and what you can build with time. And I think the most beautiful analogy I find that's out of nature is the time it takes for a sequoia tree to grow. A sequoia tree looks beautiful when it's 800 years. It took such a long time from this little tree to build with time into a full grown-up tree. And I like to think a Citadel is a full grown-up product that's fully achieved its full taste with all this time in the making. We also have one thing where we use time. You, of course, know Citadel Classic, which is an unaged gin, and we produce every year Citadel Reserve, which is a vintage gin which we actually age. It's done in the pure tradition of the yellow gins of the late 1800s, early 1900s, where gin was actually aged and was yellow in color. They were called the yellow gins. And what they have, they actually are refined by the aging. And that's why we have this issue of Reserve Citadel, which is actually aged a few months in the barrel. And once again, time creates beauty.